Okay, let's settle in here. I've been thinking a lot about change lately, just how constant it is.
Mm-hmm. It really is the nature of things, isn't it? Like standing by a river.
Exactly that image. You see the
Yeah.
water flowing, always moving, never the same drop twice. It just keeps going.
It does. Unstoppable.
And, sometimes watching that flow or thinking about life's changes, it brings up this feeling of unease for me.
Yeah.
Maybe a little sadness, looking back at what was. Does that make sense?
Completely. It's deeply human to feel that way. We build our sense of safety, our comfort on the familiar. So when things shift, it can feel destabilizing, like the ground is moving under our feet.
Yeah, destabilizing is a good word. You want that solid ground.
We do. We crave stability in a world that is, by its very nature, constantly changing.
So how does Buddhist thinking approach this? I know there's a core idea there.
There is. It's the concept of anicca, basically meaning impermanence.
Impermanence.
It's this understanding that everything, absolutely everything, is transient. Your thoughts, your emotions, the world around you, even mountains eventually wear down. Nothing lasts forever in the exact same form.
It reminds me of that story about the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, realizing this very thing.
Precisely. That was a core part of his awakening, seeing the impermanent nature of all phenomena.
But hearing that everything is transient, it can initially sound a bit, I don't know, bleak, maybe even scary.
It certainly can strike us that way at first. Our instinct is often to hold on tightly, isn't it? To grasp at the things and people we love, wanting them to stay just as they are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how do we get from that feeling, that fear, maybe to seeing impermanence as liberating? You mentioned liberating earlier.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the liberation comes from shifting our relationship to that impermanence, from resisting it to accepting it as the fundamental nature of reality.
Okay.
There's a wonderful story about a meditation master, Ajahn Chah. He pointed to an ancient tree in the monastery grounds.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke about how the tree naturally lets go of its old leaves in the autumn. It doesn't fight it, doesn't cling. It simply releases them, trusting that new growth will come in the spring.
That's a beautiful image. Letting go without resistance.
Exactly. The tree embodies that acceptance. It teaches us about aligning ourselves with the natural cycles of arising and passing away, rather than struggling against them.
So it's about letting go of that resistance in our own lives. Because I can definitely feel that resistance.
We all do. It's very common.
Like with technology always changing so fast, it feels impossible to keep up sometimes. Or relationship shifting, maybe with kids growing up and moving away.
Yes, those are perfect examples. Or even subtle changes in our own bodies or abilities as we age. These things can trigger that sense of unease, that resistance.
Right. So if we're trying to be like that tree, how do we actually find the good, the gifts, as you put it, within these changes that often feel difficult or uncomfortable? Where's the upside?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? Finding the gifts. Often they're hidden within the change itself, revealed only when we soften that resistance.
Soften the resistance.
Think about it when we're tightly wound, resisting. We often can't see clearly. When we relax a bit, open up, new perspectives can emerge. Maybe the change forces us to develop new skills or discover strengths we didn't know we had.
Or perhaps a clear space for something new, even if we didn't consciously choose it.
Precisely. An ending, even a difficult one, inherently creates space. It might push us towards rediscovering old passions or connecting with people in new ways, or even just finding a deeper appreciation for the present moment.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we cultivate that?
Yeah.
That openness, especially when a change feels overwhelming?
One powerful way is through gratitude, bringing conscious awareness to what we do have, even amidst the flux.
Gratitude, right. I know it's talked about a lot these days in psychology too.
It is. And in Buddhism, there's a related concept called santuthi contentment. Yes, it's not about complacency or pretending everything's perfect. It's more about finding a sense of inner peace and appreciation right now, with things as they are, even with the imperfections and challenges.
So it's finding peace within the situation, not necessarily needing the situation itself to be perfect.
Exactly. It's an inner resource. Think of the story of that farmer in Japan during a terrible drought. Instead of just despairing, he deliberately looked for things to be thankful for: the resilience of certain plants, the support of his neighbors, the lessons the drought was teaching him. And this shift, this gratitude, actually helped him find clarity and motivation to develop innovative ways to conserve water.
Wow. So gratitude wasn't just a feeling, it actually led to action, to solutions.
Yes, it shifted his whole perspective, allowing him to see possibilities where before he only saw hardship.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it's more than just saying thank you, But how do we, like, practice this, make it real in daily life, especially during tough transitions?
There are some very practical ways. One is consciously shifting your perspective.
How do you mean?
Like Sarah, the teacher who retired. Initially, she felt a bit lost, but she started keeping a gratitude journal, just writing down a few things each day.
Okay.
And gradually, it helped her reframe retirement. Instead of seeing it as an ending, she started seeing it as a new beginning, a chance to explore interests she never had time for before, like painting. The gratitude shifted her focus towards the opportunities.
So journaling is one way, actively looking for things.
Yes. Another simple practice is starting the day with intention. Maybe just taking 3 deep breaths upon waking, acknowledging another day, and setting a quiet intention to notice moments of beauty or kindness throughout the day.
A morning reflection. I like that. Simple.
Very simple. And similarly, an evening practice. Before sleep, perhaps mentally reviewing or writing down 3 specific things you felt grateful for that day. It trains the mind, little by little, to scan for the positive.
It's like building a muscle, isn't it? Training your brain.
It really is, and there's neuroscience to back that up, actually.
Oh, yeah. Tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Well, studies show that practicing gratitude regularly can actually change your brain chemistry. It releases dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good neurotransmitters.
Ah, okay.
This creates a kind of positive feedback loop. Feeling grateful feels good, which encourages you to practice it more, which further strengthens those positive neural pathways.
So it literally rewires the brain for more positivity.
In a sense, yes. It helps build resilience and can counteract our brain's natural negativity bias, that tendency to focus more on threats or problems. This can be especially helpful as we get older.
That's fascinating. So these small practices, these rituals, actually have a biological effect.
They do. Creating rituals around gratitude makes it more consistent, like a mindful walk, for instance.
A mindful one.
Yeah, just walking slowly and deliberately, paying attention to your surroundings, consciously noticing things you appreciate, the feeling of the sun, the color of a flower, the sound of birdsong. It weaves mindfulness and gratitude together.
That sounds lovely, actually. A way to connect with the present moment, too.
Exactly. Now, speaking of appreciating things as they are, there's that parable of the broken pot. Does that come to mind?
Oh, yes. The pot with the crack. I remember finding that quite moving.
Me too. The woman carrying the water was initially so distressed by this pot that leaked, she saw it only as flawed, imperfect.
Right, she felt ashamed of it.
But then she discovered that along the path where she carried that leaking pot, beautiful wildflowers had sprung up, nourished by the water that trickled out.
Ah, so the flaw was actually creating unexpected beauty.
Precisely. The imperfection had a hidden gift. It's a powerful reminder for us to look differently at what we perceive as flaws or setbacks in ourselves or our lives. Sometimes they are the very things that allow for unique growth or beauty.
That really shifts perspective. It makes me think about loss, too. How something ending, which feels like a purely negative thing, might actually open doors.
Yes, that connects to the paradox of loss and gain. There's a Zen story about a master whose favorite teacup breaks. His students expect him to be upset, but he simply says, the cup was already broken. He understood its inherent impermanence from the start. The breaking just made it obvious.
Accepting its nature all along.
Right, and acknowledging that ending, that loss, is what creates the space for something new to arise. It reveals the truth of anicca, of impermanence.
So endings aren't just endings, they're also potential beginnings.
Exactly. Think of James, the widower we discussed. Losing his wife was devastating, a huge loss. But eventually, that loss led him to volunteer at an animal shelter.
And he found new purpose there.
Yes, new purpose, new connections, and new community. The ending of one chapter, painful as it was, ultimately created the opening for this new one.
It requires letting go, though, doesn't it? Letting go of what was to be open to what might be. And that feels hard.
It is hard. Letting go is definitely a practice, not a one-time decision. And it's important to understand it's not about suppression or pretending you don't care or giving up.
Okay, so what is it about?
It's more about releasing the attachment, that tight grip we have on wanting things to be different than they are. It's about acknowledging the reality of the situation and trusting, even just a little, in the process of life unfolding.
Releasing the attachment.
Yeah.
Trusting the process.
Yes. And sometimes cultivating mudita can help.
Mudita. What's that?
It's often translated as sympathetic joy, or finding joy in the happiness and good fortune of others.
How does that relate to letting go of your own stuff?
Well, it helps us appreciate change and transformation more broadly. When we can genuinely feel happy for others' successes or positive changes, it can soften our own resistance to the changes happening in our own lives. It connects us to the bigger flow.
Interesting. So is there like an exercise for practicing letting go?
There is. A simple 3-step process can be helpful. First, identify clearly what it is you feel you're holding on to tightly.
Okay, name it.
Second, consciously acknowledge its value, maybe what it taught you or brought you. Honor it in a way, don't just dismiss it.
Acknowledge its value. Got it.
And third, gently visualize releasing your grip. Imagine creating space, opening your hands, metaphorically speaking, to allow something new to potentially enter that space. It's about creating openness.
Identify, acknowledge, visualize, release. That sounds manageable. It feels very internal, though. Does embracing change like this have any impact beyond just ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. There's a ripple effect. Remember the Buddhist idea of interdependence? Everything is connected.
Right, interdependence.
So when you navigate change with more grace, more acceptance, more resilience, that impacts those around you. Your calm presence, your ability to adapt it, can be subtly or sometimes overtly inspiring to others.
Like modeling a different way of being.
Exactly. Think of Margaret, who took up yoga later in life. Her own transformation, her newfound flexibility and peace didn't just benefit her.
What happened?
It inspired her daughter to try it, and eventually Margaret even started teaching gentle yoga classes in her community. Her personal embrace of change created waves of positive influence.
Wow, that's a lovely example of the ripple effect. One person's journey impacting others.
It shows how our inner work isn't just for us. It contributes something to the world around us.
So as we kind of draw this conversation towards a close for now, what's a final thought someone listening could take away? Something practical to hold on to as they face their own changes.
I think the invitation is to really see yourself as the author of your ongoing life story. It's not a finished book. There are always new chapters to write, new opportunities for growth and reinvention, regardless of age or circumstance.
Embracing that sense of agency.
Yes, maybe even create what you might call a legacy list. Not necessarily huge, grand things, but maybe 5 things you genuinely want to learn, experience, or contribute.
A legacy list. I like that.
And then just take small, manageable steps towards one of them. It reinforces that sense that you are still creating, still moving forward, even when external circumstances shift.
Taking small steps. Keeping that forward momentum. It brings us back to the river, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Life changes. Sometimes they feel like harsh, crashing waves. Other times like gentle currents, maybe like different notes in a symphony, some harmonious, some dissonant perhaps.
It's all part of the music?
All part of the music. The invitation isn't to control the music or stop the river. It's about learning to find the harmony within it, to find your own rhythm, to trust your ability to navigate the waters.
It really isn't about avoiding the storms, is it?
No, it's about learning to dance in the rain.
Learning to dance in the rain. That's a beautiful place to pause.
Embracing the dance.